list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Yes, it does.
Still sucks.
Welcome back to This List Sucks.
Hey, everybody.
How's everybody doing? Thanks for tuning in. We were just talking about it. This is episode 10 today. So that's a milestone worth mentioning.
10th of the way through this bad dog.
Yeah, 1/10 of the way. We're 10% there. So I know it's been excruciating. It's probably just going to get worse. But we appreciate you guys sticking with us thus far. You know, we're really happy to be doing this, and we're really grateful for our listeners. So thanks for tuning in every week.
Absolutely. I'm Mike, by the way.
I'm JB.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump into it this week. But before we get to the albums last week, and sincerely thank you everybody, because last week when we were listening to Jason Isbell, it came up the question, and I think that I posed a question because it came up in a previous conversation with some friends of mine about if you wanted to redo the Highwaymen, which the classic Highwaymen was Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Waylon Jennings back in the day. If you wanted to rebuild that today, what would it look like? Who would be in your Highwaymen?
Yeah.
And
we
last
talked
week,
about it because of the female version that started a few years ago, the Highwaymen.
The Highwaymen, yeah. Which one of the Highwaymen is Amanda Shires, which is Jason Isbell's fiddle player, duettist, and wife as well.
Yeah, secondarily. Yeah.
Secondarily to the music. But at any rate, listen, thank you to everybody, because we got plenty of feedback on Facebook, and JB also had some people send him their requests, and I mean, it's quite diverse.
Yeah, it's actually a lot more diverse than we expected. I compiled a list here made like a Microsoft Word document, and I've tallied up and done a little analysis here on like who received the most votes, and it's actually a much wider spread than we expected. So
yeah,
I think we got 21 unique recommendations, or unique people to be on the roster for the Highwaymen, which is crazy. I mean, I expected maybe that it was going to be a lot of this, like the same 5 or 6 guys.
I mean, it's funny because we'll talk about who's in our Highwaymen, but you and I, whenever, talking about this offline, our first 3 are like, oh yeah, bang, bang, bang.
They seem obvious, but now that I look back at that, I was probably being a little self-centered there. Like, obviously other people are going to have different ideas. I was like, I assume everyone's going to think the same exact thing as me.
I mean, obviously, if their opinion means anything, it's going to be exactly the same as my opinion.
Right. But that was not the case.
No, not at all.
For better or for worse.
Yeah. And actually, I was surprised by the number 1 vote getter.
Yes. So how do you think we should do this? Should I just read off all of the votes, or should I read off some people's specific lists? Because I think there's 2 elements to this. There's just the suggestions in general.
Yeah.
The guys that were suggested, / girls, because there was one girl suggested.
Bold move.
And then there is the specific groupings, because a lot of people picked 4, and a lot of people probably thought about that when they made their picks, where how the 4 were going to work together.
Yeah,
it.
Diversity of voices, right? Similarly to what the old school Highwaymen were doing, because all those guys where they were all outlaw country, they all definitely had their own flavor and their own tenor to their voices, that the sum was greater than the equal of the individual parts.
Yeah, maybe we should start with, what was your pick, Mike? And I think me and Mike talked about this a little bit before.
Yeah, we did.
We have nearly the same list, so it's not going to be.
Yeah, and not to cut you off, I'm embarrassed because last week when we were talking about this, like I had the senior moment where I'm like, oh fuck, I can't remember who the 4th guy was in my brain. But luckily it came back to me. Go figure. So for me, the standouts, you have to have Chris Stapleton in there. You have to have Sturgill Simpson in there. You have to have Jason Isbell in there, because I think those 3 are just undeniable. I think that they would sound amazing together. And for me, the 4th would be Billy Strings. That's my new Highwayman.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good way to put it. Good picks there. So for me, I had the first 3 that Mike said: Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton, and Jason Isbell are no-brainers for me. And I really struggled with the 4th one. So I like Tyler Childers a lot. I think he would be a good pick. I think he'd bring like a young, fresh perspective in there.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would say, but
You're
just
not
seeing.
worried-
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you're worried about his voice relative to any of the other voices in that group.
Not really. And the only one I would be worried about would be Chris Stapleton and our friend Lee Stamper, friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
We'll talk about him later. But our friend Lee Stamper brought up an interesting point. He said Chris, and I'll just read this off. This is his comment on Facebook. He said Chris Stapleton is too big to include with any of these guys. He would loom too large. And then he said that the 4 guys he picked, which I'll read off in a little bit, all have the ability and willingness to get weird and stretch the boundaries of country, just like the old Highwaymen. And that kind of made me think maybe he's right. Maybe Stapleton is just too strong and unique of a voice to be in a group like the Highwaymen. Like, is he going to blend? Is he going to be part of the group, or is it going to be the Chris Stapleton show? You know what I mean? Because like we talked about in a past episode, I think Chris Stapleton is a fucking alien.
Yeah.
And his voice is just out of this world. So
But
I get that.
Listen, it worked with the Steel Drivers.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I don't think Stapleton is outside of the bounds. Listen, mad respect and love for Lee Stamper. I get where he's coming from, especially given where Stapleton is at right now. But listen, if you go back to the old Highwaymen, not a single one of those guys in the classic Highwaymen were a slouch.
No.
They were all monster stars
Definitely
when they
not.
came together.
Yeah.
So the idea that somebody is just too big for the britches of being in a group, come on. If
Yeah.
Willie Nelson's not too big to be in a group, or if Johnny Cash isn't too big to be in a group,
Right.
come on.
Yeah.
Stapleton can do it.
His voice is different though. Like those guys all have like classic country voices. Stapleton is like, he sings classic country, but with like almost an operatic quality to his voice, and it's just like so refined and perfect and just literally alien to me. Like I can't understand how he does what he does.
Did you see the last time that Chris Stapleton was on Saturday Night Live as a musical guest?
I don't know. Probably. What did he sing?
Who cares? The curveball was that Sturgill played with him.
No, I didn't see that. So no, I
That-
definitely didn't see that. Yeah.
It was awesome. I mean, really, really awesome. And again, the billing was that Chris Stapleton was a musical guest, and I almost fell out of my seat when they cut to him the first
So
time.
that was a surprise.
I mean, apparently so, because then when I'm trying to remember exactly how they did it, because the first time that they brought him out, it was, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Stapleton. They opened up the curtain, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's Sturgill
That's
Simpson,
not
too.
Chris Stapleton.
Well, I mean, they were both up there, right?
Yeah.
And they were definitely doing a Stapleton tune, and Sturgill was really just there to do guitar work. You know,
Right.
like they weren't singing.
So he didn't
harmonies.
sing at all?
No, they weren't singing
Weird.
harmonies or anything.
Crazy choice, but
Yeah.
that was fun though. I bet he was just like, "Hey, buddy, you want to come on the SNL with me?"
Pretty much. And then the second time they introduced him. I can't remember if they said Chris Stapleton with a guest, because they never said Sturgill by name that I recall. But listen, it's worth watching, because
Okay.
it's cool to see those two guys up on stage, especially when they're not being billed as being on stage together.
Right.
It was
yeah.
cool. Really, really
That's a welcome surprise.
yeah.
But speaking of Willie Nelson, so like this week I was kind of struggling with it, and I was talking to my girlfriend Katie about it, and I said that my first 3 would definitely be, and she has a recommendation too, so we'll read hers in a little bit.
Nice.
But she had, so I was saying that it's definitely going to be Sturgill Simpson and Jason Isbell and Chris Stapleton, and then she was like, "Why not just do Willie Nelson for the 4th one? He's still alive." And I was like, that's actually true. Wouldn't that be fucking cool if during the new iteration of the Highwaymen, Willie Nelson was still in it and it was him with those other 3 guys? Can you imagine that?
Well, Chris Christopherson's still alive? Yeah.
I don't.
Is that real?
I don't think so. Are you looking it up?
Yeah,
I can
I'll
look it up.
I'll look it up.
I think he's not.
Oh, that'll make. I shouldn't say that'll make me sad, but I mean, it would kind of make me sad if he was gone and I didn't even. No, he's still alive.
Is he?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Well, I want Willie Nelson. Sorry, Chris.
Listen, I think that's cool too, but I also love the idea of
Just fresh.
fresh I love the idea of a bunch of fresh faces.
Cool.
hammering it.
Well, first, I think what I'll do first is I'm going to read off just the entirety of the list that was suggested. So like I said before, we had 28 individual names that were thrown out there for this new iteration of the Highwaymen. So I'll just start from the top. The first one here is actually, he's recently passed, so it's arguable that you wouldn't count this. But Justin Townes Earl, Lucas Nelson, who's the son of Willie Nelson. Interesting pick. Hank Williams III, Hank 3.
Oh, dude.
You familiar with him?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Woo.
For those who don't know, he does like, when he does a live show, he does like one set that's classic Hank Williams country, and then he does one set that's like straight up death metal. And it's cool.
So Hank 3 recorded a bunch of stuff with Phil Anselmo's side piece. The fuck was the name of that side piece that he did? I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, he's legit. He loves both super traditional,
for sure,
Hank Williams senior country and just full on fucking grindcore metal.
Yeah, I just love the juxtaposition of it. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so Hank III, Shooter Jennings.
I was wondering if that was going to come up after Hank 3.
Yep, he had one suggestion.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks, Sturgill Simpson, Zach Brown.
Ugh.
The Avett Brothers, either of the Avett Brothers. Dave Simonette. I'm actually not familiar.
Not familiar.
Chris Stapleton. Jim James. Interesting.
Dude,
interesting.
Fuck. Who did that? Who told you? Who said that?
Let me see if I can get to who came up with Jim James.
Listen, I love you, whoever came up with Jim James.
That was Matt Andrews, a buddy
Matt.
of mine and listener of the podcast.
Respect, Matt. I never would have thought about that, but now that you've said it, it's tough to get it out of my mind.
Nathaniel Rateliff.
Okay, yeah.
Steve Earle. Steve Earle had a couple votes.
I'm not familiar with Steve Earle.
Should check him out.
All right.
Jeff Tweedy. I thought you might like that one.
Whew. Yeah, I do.
That one's pretty exciting. Yeah. That was a buddy of mine, Andrew. Andrew Beaumont. Andy Beaumont. I call him Andy, so that's why I was like Andrew when I read his name on Facebook. But
thank you, Andy.
Yeah, Andy picked Jeff Tweedy. Very, very interesting pick. I like that.
Yeah.
Gary Loris, Dwight Yoakam. So here was the one female. Bonnie Raitt was suggested as being one of the Highwaymen.
Interesting. Let's get her with the Highwaymen, right?
Get her with the Highwaymen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be sexist here, but I am.
Jay Farrar, George Strait, Coulter Wall, Jason Isbell.
Interesting.
Yeah, Coulter Wall is interesting. Jason Isbell, Sean Mullins, who I hear is really fantastic. Tyler Childers.
Yeah.
Brent Cobb.
Yeah.
I promise we're almost getting there, guys. Ryan Bingham. And one of my buddies, who he works
is that
at
Justin that said that?
No.
Because Justin's a big Ryan Bingham fan.
Justin is, yeah. It's actually a guy that works with Justin, though. Our friend Justin, who works at Corteva Ag Science here in town, and a buddy of mine that works with him said that he compiled a list of from his coworkers, and he sent me this list. And I have to point out that he sent me on this list. He sent Ryan Bingham in parentheses, not my pick. So that was not his pick.
It's an intriguing pick, though.
Benjamin Todd, also not familiar.
Not familiar.
Cooper McBean.
Nope.
Sounds made up to me. And the Felker guy from Turnpike Troubadours, which that's a pretty good band, actually. But
now that we've got all these fantastic picks completely outside of like new outlaw or traditional country music, I almost want an alt highmen.
Yes.
The alt highwaymen.
I like that idea.
Because I want Tweedy and I want Jim James.
That would be dope.
And who was the third one that came in there? There was three that were just like
Coulter Wall or
no.
Ryan Bingham.
Yeah, Bingham. Jesus.
Man.
So
So by far, who had the most votes by far was Sturgill Simpson with 6 different votes. Okay, for Sturgill Simpson. Chris Stapleton was in second place. Well, Chris Stapleton and Jason Isbell were tied in second place.
Yeah.
And then tied for third place is Garth Brooks, actually.
Wow.
Steve Earle and Tyler Childers. And then all the other ones that I mentioned had one
Single
vote
vote.
each, basically. But let me just read off a couple of the combinations, just because I feel like we'd be remiss not to at least put them in context.
That is consensus, though, given like the vote tallies, and especially if you add our votes in there. I would say that the consensus big three is easy, right? The consensus big three would be Sturgill, Stapleton, Isbell.
Yeah, if you're talking pure numbers, those
Yeah.
were the three that received the most votes when
Yeah.
you add in our votes,
So that would
which
be
we get 2 votes each.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, that is consensus, and then the fourth is definitely debatable, and there are so many fantastic fourths that you could plug in there.
Yeah. So Lee Stamper said Sturgill Simpson, Lucas Nelson, Hank III, and Shooter Jennings. Very interesting
That's a
combination.
fantastic combination, Lee Stamper.
Linda, who is a avid listener. We appreciate you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Jason Isbell, Sean Mullins, Steve Earle, and Sturgill Simpson. Again,
I like that too.
our friend Adam Fields, he said, had this type 2 days ago, hesitated, but I'm going for it. And he said George Strait, Garth Brooks, Dwight Yoakam, and Bonnie Raitt. So,
Now, listen, even though he threw the Bonnie Raitt in there, I actually love that. Because there's a part of me that I might replace a Billy Strings with a Garth Brooks, and that sounds so bizarre, but there is some indelible quality to Garth Brooks's voice that I think would just be so different than those other 3 guys.
yeah.
Probably most reminiscent to Jason Isbell, but like even a far cry from Jason Isbell too.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely interesting, for
Yeah.
sure. Katie, my girlfriend, she said Jason Isbell, Chris Stapleton, Zach Brown, and Sturgill Simpson.
I actually love Zach Brown too.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
And see, I would plug Zach Brown into the alt highwaymen. So go Tweedy, James, Bingham, Zach Brown, maybe.
That could be really cool.
That could
Yeah.
be really, really cool.
Andy Beaumont, shout out to Andy. I miss you. He moved recently.
Uh,
But he said Steve Earle, Jeff Tweedy, Gary Loris, and Jay Farrar. I'm not as familiar with Gary Loris. Wait, I feel like I know Jay Farrar's name, and I don't want to sound like an idiot, so I'm going to Google it real quick before I say it.
Listen,
But
incredible props for pulling Jeff Tweedy, because Jeff Tweedy is so brilliant in a pseudo super group like this. It is just that's a really brilliant pick, and I love it.
Matt Andrews said Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton, Jim James, and Nathaniel Rateliff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's an interesting
that's
one.
where Nathaniel Rateliff got plugged in. Man, I actually love that too. I love that a lot.
Definitely. And then I want to read off Shane Parker's, who's another listener. Because he texted me this. So he said he had an interesting list because he had a couple extras that would be on like guests. So he said Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton, Brent Cobb, and Tyler Childers.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting.
then he said Jason Isbell and Luke Combs as guests. So I didn't actually mention Luke Combs before, but he was also recommended as a guest. So interesting picks.
Yeah.
Thanks for weighing in, guys.
I know. Everybody however you got us the information, thank you for doing it. A myriad of ways that you can interact with the show. Of course, you can find us on Facebook. That's where we're trying to get stuff like this up, just to try and get your guys' feedback. If you know us personally, of course, you can continue to text us, or you can send us emails at thislistsucks@gmail.com. And you can go to anchor.fm/thislistsucks, which is the podcast homepage, and you can leave us messages there too, including audio message. Nobody has been brave enough to do that.
No one's done that yet. And what the cool thing about the audio message is, if you go to anchor.fm/thislistsucks and you send us an audio message, we can put it on the podcast.
We can play it.
I don't know if we've made that clear yet. Have we?
No, I don't
Yeah.
think we have either.
So if you go on I'm going to say it one more time. Anchor.fm, because I really want someone to do this. Anchor.fm/thislistsucks. Send us an audio message of your voice, and we're going to put it on the podcast.
We're going to play you.
You know what? We haven't got any yet, so I don't care what you say. Just say anything. Doesn't even have to be family friendly. Like, we're going to put it on the podcast. Well, yeah.
This is opening up an entirely unpredictable can of worms.
Yeah.
But that's exciting too.
I'm not putting anything racist. I should have, there's one caveat. But yeah. So I mean, there are some censorship
There are some
going
bounds.
on. Yeah.
There are some bounds that we just won't cross even ourselves.
But please send us a voice message. We want to get it up there.
yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun one, and we really love doing the poll thing, and we're gonna keep coming up with new ideas for that and putting new questions that we. Most of these are just ideas that we just kind of post to each other outside of the podcast, and we're like, fuck it, let's put it on the podcast.
Let's talk. Let's see what else everybody else has to say about it.
So we love doing it. It's fun.
Of course, it's Friday, and it's incredibly light New Music Friday. Like, music gets released on Friday, and it used to get released on Tuesday, but that changed. I don't know.
When did that change? I mean, it changed
Like 2 or
before
3
we
years
started
ago.
the podcast.
Yeah, long before that, like 2 or 3 years ago. Whatever, it's cool. Friday is cool too. Only
Friday works.
4 albums came out today. There's a Diplo album, and that's like an all-country Diplo remix album.
Weird.
Yeah,
Not gonna listen to it.
I didn't bother with it. There is a new Paul McCartney album out, because apparently even Sir Paul McCartney gets bored being trapped at home during COVID, and he too starts recording new albums. I probably listened to about half of it, and I was actually a little bit shocked that I found it really listenable, because I did think it was really listenable.
You were surprised by that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Did you not like his previous solo stuff that he's been doing? Because he's released a couple in recent years, right?
Yeah, and the contemporary stuff is not.
I get it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I understand.
If I'm going to listen to McCartney, I'll probably listen to either Early Wings or I'll do the Beatles, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, I mean, if it was anyone else, it'd probably be like a good record,
Yeah.
But you're like, it's Paul McCartney. You know what he has to offer. You know what he can do, and it's you don't want to listen to this when you're listening to Paul McCartney.
Yeah, that's right. Also, a seemingly like a new release from Eminem today, but it sounds like it was just a whole bunch of stuff that he had recorded earlier in the year that they released, kind of like a B-sides collection.
So it's an
And,
anthology.
I mean, it certainly feels like it's literally 2 hours long. I mean, it was a lot of Eminem, and I listened to a little bit of it, but I don't know. I guess I got to be in the mood for listening to Eminem speed rap about murdering people and death and stuff.
Ooh, I wonder when we're gonna hit the first Eminem on this, because there's at least one on this list.
I mean,
I bet there's two. I bet the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP are on here. You think so, or am I
Yes.
crazy?
no, I don't think you're crazy at all. And I do think it's those two, and I think that they're probably pretty high.
Yeah,
Relative
I like Marshall Mathers LP better, for the record,
than
than Slim Shady LP. I think they're both pretty good, but
actually the Slim Shady LP might not be on here. The Marshall Mathers LP will absolutely be on here.
that's the one with Kim.
Yeah, and but the second one that I'm thinking, it might be the Eminem Show. Was that the name of
That sounds right. Yeah,
the third one?
I was
With the
never like
real
a
Slim
crazy dedicated listener. I think the real Slim Shady was on Slim
Was on-
Shady LP, wasn't it?
No.
No?
The Slim Shady LP was the very first one, and that's My Name Is What? My Name
Yeah.
Is What? Yeah, that's not.
That's not what you're talking about. Okay.
No, the one that I'm thinking of is, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up.
Oh yeah, it's not the same song.
Trailer Park Girls go around the outside,
Okay,
around
gotcha.
the outside,
Yeah.
around the outside.
I thought those were the same song.
No. they're
Okay.
not. But that's okay. Listen, we're going to see him. We're going to see him, and I think we're probably going to see him pretty high up just because he's got flow.
Yeah,
Mad flow.
you can dish it up. What do you
do you
think?
say?
Should we break into the records for this week?
Go Bo Diddley, go.
Also, I didn't mention this to you. I'm kind of springing it on you, but it's the end of another 25, so it's time that we do a recap. And we, at the end of today's episode, we'll have to pick our favorites.
Our favorites out of each 5 grouping for the last 5 groupings.
Right, and then we should probably do our favorite for the top 50.
Okay.
Maybe.
One favorite out of the top 50.
I don't know. Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
It'll be.
I know I didn't let you
it'll be
think
a
about it at
fucking
all.
Hot
So
take.
sorry about that. Yeah, it will be.
Hot take.
Yes, hot off the press.
All right.
Okay,
Let's do this.
so breaking into it, this is the last of the bottom 50 of Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. So we're picking it back up at number 455 today, which is Bo Diddley's record, which is Bo Diddley / Go Bo Diddley. So it's like really two records that they made into one.
Which we love it when they do that.
Yeah, love it. So
Fucking cheaters.
Diddley's influence on rock and roll is inestimable. From the off-kilter rhythmic thump of Pretty Thing to his revved-up take on singing the blues. This album, a repackaging of his first two records, has many of his best singles, including I'm a Man and Who Do You Love? Bands immediately started ripping off his signature rollicking beat, and they haven't stopped yet, including many on this list, from Bruce Springsteen on Born to Run's She's the One to George Michael on Faith. So spoiler alert that Bruce Springsteen and George Michael are both going to be on this list.
Thanks, Rolling Stone.
Assholes.
Spoiler alerted their own list.
Yes, but
What'd you think about this? Where'd you land on it?
I mean, it's Bo Diddley. So I like it. It's good. It's hugely influential. Like I like the word that they used, inestimable. It's like literally you cannot describe the influence that this had. Without Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry, you don't have rock and roll.
Yeah.
Any rock band that we like doesn't exist without these guys.
I agree.
And
I instantly thought of Chuck Berry
Yeah.
when I was listening to this.
These guys are, those guys, to me, those are the two that I think of when I think of early pioneers of rock and roll. And we wouldn't have any of the bands that we love probably without these guys. At least it wouldn't have been in our lifetime. It would have been the amount of ground that they covered and the amount that they moved music forward is, as Rolling Stone put it, inestimable. I think that's a really good way to put it, like I said before. But yeah. So I mean, is this like my favorite type of rock and roll? I mean, I'm not gonna listen to this kind of stuff all the time, but I do like it, and I just respect it so profoundly.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Listen, it's rockabilly the whole way through, right? There are no ballads. Bo Diddley don't do that.
He doesn't fuck around with that shit at all.
No, none. All super simplistic. They all have the same feel. They all have the same sound. I was literally laughing out loud when "Who Do You Love" came on because I just assumed that George Thorogood was just a George Thorogood song. But I actually thought about George Thorogood a ton when I was listening to this, which is weird because I probably should have thought about somebody like George Thorogood when we were listening to Howlin' Wolf or Muddy Waters. But I didn't, because I feel like he's the strange love child of Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, and Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The way that he infuses both kind of that grassroots rockabilly that turns into, like you said, the rock and roll that we all know and love, right?
Yeah.
The roots there in Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry, but then also that really legit Chicago blues that you get out of Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. I think that George Thorogood is, he's like the love child.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? Of those two beats. But I was down with it.
Do you know what the Bo Diddley beat is?
No.
What they were talking about when they said bands immediately started ripping off his signature rollicking beat, which is called the Bo Diddley beat.
No, what's
that's
the Bo Diddley
so it's
beat?
like the.
Oh yeah, ba ba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the dun 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 dun
Yep.
dun. You hear it? Think it's the Grateful Dead tune. Not Fade Away. Dun 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 dun. That's just the Bo Diddley beat. They ripped it off unabashedly.
And literally, that's "Who Do You Love," right? Dun dun dun
Dun,
dun
dun,
dun.
dun. That's all it is.
Who do you
So
love?
just think about how many songs I could sing that dun 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 dun, and I bet every
Footloose.
single listener listening to this is like, oh yeah, I know that song, and they're thinking of a different song. You know what I mean? Because they're right that he really pretty much popularized that sound, and it has just been. Everyone was just like, that's it. That's the shit right there. We're going to use that in our stealing it.
I've never heard that called the Bo Diddley beat, though.
That's the Bo Diddley beat. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Listen, I appreciate all of this. I could have, in all in all honesty, listen, pick one. And I probably would have picked Go Bo Diddley as opposed to the first record that he did on Bo Diddley. I think Go Bo Diddley was a little bit more mature. And
Is Go Bo Diddley the one? Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Is that the one with Say Man? That's the one where they're shit talking each other.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the one I listen to a lot more.
Yes.
And so that cracked me up. So there's a song off of Go Bo Diddley called Say Man. And it's almost like a bluegrassy country backing track.
Yeah.
And it's just Bo Diddley and another guy just talking shit to each other the whole time. He's
Dude.
like, hey man, I was walking down the street the other day with your girlfriend. I took her back to my house just for a drink. Just for a drink.
No, my favorite line in that song was, it's like the epitome old school Yo Mama joke when he says, your girl's so ugly she had to sneak up on a drink of water.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that, dude. And you know what this reminded me of?
What?
The Far Side's Yo Mama song. I was thinking about that. I was like, this is just a fucking 50s version of the Far Side doing the Yo Mama jokes.
Yes.
Or rather, the Far Side is a 90s version of Bo Diddley doing Say Man, basically.
I'm so glad that you brought this song up, because I try to make notes about, if you're only going to listen to a couple of songs, listen to these. That is absolutely one that I marked. Another one, again, and this is all off of Go Bo Diddley, is You Don't Love Me, You Don't Care. That song was great. And then Who Do You Love was on there. I'm Sorry is on there because that, I marked that one because that one's a little bit more of a crooner. That one he does kind of break apart from that rockabilly sound.
Yeah.
Or that Bo Diddley beat, if you will. But Say Man is probably, I mean, that's definitely
so
a
funny.
highlight. Yeah.
Just the way these guys are talking to each other just cracks me up. He's like, one guy's just like, hey, Say Man. And he goes like, yeah. He's like, I was walking with your girlfriend. It's just really, it's pretty funny. Listen to the song Say Man, definitely.
There's another line in there where Bo Diddley's saying, he goes, I'm from South America. South Texas.
Fuck yeah, Bo Diddley.
Classic.
I love the like you said though, it's all just straight up rock and roll. There's the song Oh Yeah that was actually a couple songs after Say Man on Go Bo Diddley, and that kind of cracked me up. It's just about like it was like super self-centered on Bo Diddley's part. It was just like, Bo Diddley, you the one. Like a bunch of girls saying this, and then he's like, show enough. That really kind of cracked me up too, so I loved that. I heard a lot of Rolling Stones on this record, big time, especially the earlier Rolling Stones stuff. So, I mean, the Rolling Stones, so many bands we wouldn't have without the Rolling Stones. And we wouldn't have the Rolling Stones without Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry.
Yep, I'm with you. And again, for me, I heard George Thorogood. Like, I just heard George Thorogood over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate that. Like, I don't hate that at all.
And I did like the guitar a lot on this.
Yeah.
He has this really, his style of guitar just seeped into every facet of rock and roll.
Well, and the funny part about this is, like, he goes on to basically build his own guitar, but that's not what he's playing on these two records, right?
I didn't even know about that. He built his own guitar after this?
Yeah, and it's super like it's this big giant rectangular looking thing. I mean, it might be.
Oh yeah, actually I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of a hideously ugly guitar, if you ask me. But it looked like he was playing like Gretsch hollow bodies or some type of hollow body on these first two records.
It sure looks like Gretsch hollow bodies. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
And it had that sound. Hollow bodies, they have that tone to them, if you will.
Yes, but his tone was really good. He did a lot of the the early natural tremolo stuff.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't know, tremolo is when the guitar kind of cuts in and out in volume. So it's like, and that was a pretty prevalent on this record.
Yeah.
And he has this light tube overdrive, which is really nice. Which is, it's not like intended, but it's not like he was using a distortion pedal,
No.
But what he was doing was he was just turning the amplifier up, and it was just pushing it to the limits and getting this nice little warmth to it.
Yeah.
Which is really good. And yeah, he was he's a very good guitar player, obviously. And he does this like scratchy thing a lot where he's just kind of doing this rhythmic scratching on the guitar, which is obviously seeped into it. So just again, this record for me belongs on this list because of the influence that it had, which is just, I'm going to go back to the word Rolling Stone used again, which is inestimable. Like so much stuff on this record. If you listen to it, you're going to notice like that you're hearing other people that you know and love because he did it first.
I like the position of it too.
Yeah, I think it's in a good position. I didn't add it to digital.
No.
For the uninitiated, that's what dig means. I would buy the vinyl. I would. I'll say that.
Both of them?
I would buy Go Bo Diddley on vinyl.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. I mean, if I found it, which I don't think it'd be too hard to find, well, it actually might be really difficult to find, but
I don't know. Yeah.
but no, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be against picking it up, but I didn't add it to my digital catalog because this isn't something that I want to jump back to.
Yeah, I'm not going to listen
on
to
the
it all the
regular.
time, but it has its place on this list for sure. Deserves to be here, just undoubtedly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too.
So yeah, if you're going to listen to one song, check out Say Man.
Definitely check out Same.
Cracked me up.
And if you're a George Thorogood fan, definitely check out Who Do You Love. Go back to the OG on that because that's a worthwhile adventure.
Definitely.
What do you say? 454?
Next up,
454. The artist Can. The name
fun
of the
pronouncing
album.
this.
Ege Bamyasi.
Killed it. Way better than I would have done.
From 1972, Rolling Stone says, chugging out of Cologne, Germany in the late 60s, avant psychedelic crew Can took influence from the Velvet Underground Subterranean Drones, Miles Davis's Molten Jazz Rock, and James Brown's Circular Funk Grooves. On Ege Bamyasi, new singer Damo Suzuki mumbles, chants, and shrieks his way through engulfing kraut boogie workouts like Vitamin C and I'm So Green. Spoon took their name from the LP's Doors Meets Stereolab. That's a really interesting take. Closing track, and Kanye West sampled the Lupine Sing Swan Sing. Tell me what you thought.
Yeah. I'm really glad I listened to this one. This is a crazy fucking record. And I'm glad that they mentioned Miles Davis because so what I wrote down was I think this is like a rock / funk version of Bitches Brew almost at times. The whole record's not that, but some songs, in particular Pinch and Soup, are very much that.
Dude, wild fucking funk.
So
I mean,
this is just
wild funk.
This is just this record is pure psychedelia. Am I even saying that right? Psychedelia.
Yes.
And it's a fucking masterpiece of psychedelia, in my opinion.
It's also krautrock.
Yes, it's krautrock. And what is that? Did you pull that up? Let's read the definition. Do you have it?
I don't have the definition.
Okay, here, I'll pull it up.
Okay, you can pull up the definition, but it's basically post World War II, think late 60s through probably throughout the 70s, music, rock music, psychedelia, jazz coming out of West Germany.
You pretty much read the definition exactly. So yeah, I'm not even gonna. No, it's good. You had it memorized. I'm not even gonna read it. It says, a broad genre. Yeah, I'm not gonna read it. It says, but I will add to it. It says artists who blended elements of psychedelic rock, electronic music, and avant-garde composition.
Yeah.
And it says these artists strayed away from the blues influence and song structure found in traditional Anglo-American rock music, instead utilizing hypnotic rhythms, tape music techniques, and early synthesizers. Prominent groups associated with krautrock music included the first one mentioned is Can. So,
Yeah.
And there's many others, but I'm not going to read them off.
Well, and
Mostly because I can't pronounce them.
well, but if anybody is interested, something that most like if you're into music at all, you probably heard of Kraftwerk, and Kraftwerk is probably the other big well-known band that came
was
out
there.
of, that came out of this krautrock movement outside of Can. So
But yeah, this is a crazy record. I really like that what I just read said that they kind of abandoned song structure because that's exactly what this is. It's just most of these are pretty jammy. They're all over the place. If you're looking for a song with the verse, chorus, bridge, double chorus formula,
go home.
yeah, you're not even close to
You
that.
are
So
not going to land anywhere near home with
this shit is all over the place. And it
Yeah.
just started off. This record starts off with a song called Pinch, which is just a wild psychedelic adventure. Not the wildest on the record,
No.
which is reserved for a later track, but Pinch is just wild. And it's like 10 minutes long, okay?
Yeah.
And it's like funk rock with the guitars playing like funk extended chords. It's got their singer's Japanese. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the second singer that the group had.
Yeah.
And you can kind of hear that he's Japanese if you're paying attention
Yeah.
to the lyrics, and if you're listening to the way that he's pronouncing some words, you can definitely hear it.
I thought he was kind of like before I realized he was Japanese. I mean, I knew he was Japanese, but it sounded like a krautrock version of Iggy Pop. Did you hear that at all?
No, not really.
I thought you'd like that though, because of how much you like that Stooges record.
I did love that Stooges record, and I mean, I see where you're coming from a little bit, but man, there is just so much going on with Can,
Yeah.
that you can't. I don't know. I don't even know how to say it. You almost can't focus on any one singular thing, whether it be the guitar or the bass or the lyrics. What?
Let me ask you this though: if there was one singular thing you were going to focus on, what would it be? We'll see if we have the same answer.
I would focus on the bass.
Interesting. We're super close. I was going to say the drummer.
Okay.
So I think the drummer was just the backbone of this record, and I think the bass was secondary to that, but was the second most important member. So to me, what this record is the bass player and the drummer just laying down just phenomenal psychedelic rhythm tracks.
Yeah.
To have these other guys lay, their little pieces on top of it and made it what it is. Every song is like a soundscape. It's not a song. And that's something that I wrote. I wrote the drummer was virtuosic. The drummer on this record is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah.
For the drummers out there listening to this podcast, check out Can. And I wrote the bass player supplied exactly what the song / soundscape needed. And I wrote in parentheses, because they're not all songs.
No.
Some of these, like, song is a loose description of some of these things.
It's a collection of varied instruments being played at the same time.
Yeah, it's noises pleasantly placed together.
Yeah.
But oh my god, I actually really enjoyed it. I'm gonna be honest, I really liked it a lot. I'm gonna listen to it again.
Are you?
Yeah,
I mean, listen,
Yes.
I'll definitely listen to it again. I might not listen to the whole thing top to bottom again, just because it is kind of, I mean, it's a lot to take in, but at the same time,
it's definitely a lot to take in.
for me, the connection, which, the 5th song and the 6th song on the album are Vitamin C and Soup. And they're really, they're one song, really. They're broken up into two, but it's kind of like when you're listening to a jam band and they just go from one song into the
It's
next.
almost like Vitamin C was the song and
Yeah.
Soup was the jam.
Yes.
Because Vitamin C was a little bit more structured.
yes.
The Pink Floyd, because I was going to say the vocals almost sounded Pink Floyd-esque, early Pink Floyd-esque, almost David Gilmour Pink Floyd-esque.
Sure.
Like, Welcome to the Machine, that song?
Yeah.
It sounded kind of like that. The drums were ridiculous, but then at the end, it's like this like bird chirping kind of soundscapey feel,
Yeah,
and then
those
it
synths,
transitions. Yeah,
The synths are
it transitions
so
into this
crazy.
song called Soup, which for me, if you're gonna listen to one song and you like psychedelic songs, well, if you don't like psychedelic songs, and listen to Spoon. I mean, it still is very psychedelic, but less so than the rest of the record.
Yeah.
Spoon was the last song on the record, and it was actually the theme song for a German TV show.
Yep.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I saw that too. And it's probably, I mean, it's funny because I think that I read that before the song came on, and so when the song came on, I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I could see this being a theme song.
Yeah. But if you like psychedelic stuff, psychedelic music, and you have 10 minutes, sit down and listen to Soup,
Yeah.
because it is fucking wild. Like, seriously, a masterpiece of psychedelia for me. I wrote down that these guys are getting just as crazy as The Dead was in the 60s, just as crazy, but with a higher level of refinery. It's not that the Dead didn't have, and I'm a big Grateful Dead fan, but not that the Dead didn't have great musicianship, but these guys, it's just more refined. The sound. It's just more clear cut. I'm having a hard time putting it into words.
There's more precision in what these guys are doing than what the Dead were doing.
Definitely. But it's just as crazy, though. It's just as all over the place. I also noticed some serious comparisons to early Pink Floyd. If you ever listen to Saucer Full of Secrets.
Saucer Full of Secrets, Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I see that.
Very much like that.
Can I read you what I wrote for Soup?
Yes.
Because Soup was just an audio adventure,
dude,
right?
It's crazy.
So I said, after synths fade, it becomes super quiet and mellow with the vocals as the main focal point. Then 1:30 in, and it turns into an all-out crazy half-funk party where they're all in. Wild groove around 2:30. Love it. Really wild drum work and tempo play halfway into this one. Bass is driving the tempo, but it starts to run away. At 5 minutes and 35 seconds, fucking demons from hell.
Yep.
Insane synth sounds and voice. And I wrote, this is insanely trippy. I mean, bad trip fuel for sure.
If you're into psychedelic drugs, take some LSD and listen to Soup.
Oh, man. Buckle up.
Yes, because you're probably going to have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But so literally buckle up in the car, but seriously though, on a more serious note, I wrote that, and this is a thought I was having when I was listening to this, is when you're doing stuff like this psychedelic kind of just crazy avant-garde shit, it's easy as a musician to just play a bunch of random shit and be like, yeah, that sounds dissonant
that sounds cool.
That sounds dissonant and cool. But that's not how this came across to me. It came across to me as these guys, even though they were playing this crazy dissonant psychedelic stuff, they still managed to play with intent. I felt like everything had intent behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, it was I think that it's brilliant musical experimentation.
Yeah, it's definitely experimental.
Yeah.
But this came out in 1972, man.
Listen, that's the other thing that you have to keep in mind is what else was coming out at this time. I mean, this is being made only a few years after the Flying Burrito Brothers.
Yeah.
And Graham Parsons.
It's just unfathomable that stuff's happening at the same time.
At the same time, right? I did add this to my digital library.
I did too.
I would unequivocally buy this on vinyl. I don't know that I'm going to have very much luck finding it, but if I find it, I'd be super excited about it.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I would buy it on vinyl too, and I did add it to Dig, and I think it's on the list.
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know where I would place it on the list.
I think it's in a good position.
Yeah, I got to imagine that it's in a pretty good position for me too. But really, what I'm hoping we can do, especially once we get through the 400s and into the 300s, is maybe be able to look back and say, okay, by the time that you make it to the first 200, you're going to have a pretty good idea about what's left and some things that you think should have been on the list but didn't make it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I could see this album, where I'm sure it would stay on the list because there's plenty of shit that we've already gone through that I would boot from the list, and I'm sure that there's going to be more in the next 50 that I would be willing to boot from the list.
So there's plenty of room for it.
Yeah. But I do think that this is, listen, I think it's really good. I think it's really good, and I definitely think it probably worked its influence into a lot of stuff that came after it.
Yeah.
Especially psychedelically.
Definitely. 100%. Moving on.
Let's do it.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
453. Sorry about the 100%, guys.
Sorry, not sorry.
Okay, so 453 is Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine from 1989. As Rolling Stone describes it, the music I always liked as a kid was stuff I could bum out to and realize, hey, someone else feels that way too, Trent Reznor said in 1990. So if someone can do that with my music, it's mission accomplished. Led by the hit Head Like a Hole, Nine Inch Nails' debut album took bleak Midwestern goth industrial disco. It's a hell of a niche genre there.
Mm-hmm.
Bleak Midwestern goth industrial disco to the rock masses, a move that would shape pop culture just as much as Nirvana's Nevermind did. When Reznor sang gray would be the color if I had a heart on something I can never have, millions felt his pain. I paused at the Nevermind reference because I just remembered our bet. But
Which would make you feel good, because in theory, if this album had just as much shape on pop culture as Nevermind did, then we should see Nevermind here within the next.
you would think, but I'm not feeling good about the bet. So to refresh those who don't know, we made a bet a couple episodes ago. Mike thinks Nevermind is going to be in the top 10. Top 10?
Yeah.
I bet that it wouldn't. I think I might have fucked up, but we're going to find out. Okay, so what'd you think about this one, Mike?
Listen, this takes me back, right? This is one of those time machines for me. I loved Nine Inch Nails. They were like a top 10 band for me in high school, and this was my first exposure to Nine Inch Nails, and it's really, really good. Yeah. How familiar were you with this album before this?
Not at all.
None?
So I love the Nine Inch Nails. I shouldn't say it's just Nine Inch Nails. But I've listened to Downward Spiral extensively,
Yeah.
but that's about it. Like I hadn't dug into this early stuff. I mean, I've listened to later than Downward Spiral and later.
Yeah. With Teeth, Fragile, all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, but mostly Downward Spiral. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I
But
think that's his masterpiece. I think we probably see that album north of 250.
easy. I bet it's north of 200.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But
I'd take that.
another bet. I gotta fucking make up for my one that I might have lost. I'm going down. I'm downward spiraling here.
Listen, I appreciate what this album does, and I do really enjoy this album. Not to jump too far ahead, I wouldn't be sad to see this album go, because I don't know that
Go off the list.
Yeah, because I don't know that Trent Reznor has to have multiple entries, and I would actually be okay with Nine Inch Nails and that Midwestern goth industrial disco to be represented
By Downward Spiral.
by the Downward Spiral. Because to
Interesting.
me, this album is a more, it's just a more unpolished version of what he realizes.
That's a great way to put it. That's like the way I was looking for to describe that, which is yeah, unpolished way of or unpolished version of what he realizes on Downward Spiral.
Yeah, because I think that a
Nice.
lot of what you hear on this record, he revisits in Downward Spiral, but he does it in a much more cohesive and coherent and just more fully realized way.
Definitely.
You know, because if you
This-
think about the emotional place that hurt takes you to, he's trying to do that on Something I Can Never Have. It's just not quite as good.
Yeah, but there's something to be said for the rawness here in comparison to Downward Spiral. And just the fact that this was his debut album.
Yeah.
And he's like I think this is just pretty impressive and amazing for a debut album,
It is.
especially because he's like the poster child of what I would consider almost a new genre. I mean, like, at least in the public eye, in the forefront. Maybe there was some Midwestern niche for the goth industrial disco, but I wasn't aware of it because I was not born yet. But like, do you, like, I don't know, who else would you put in this class? Because I don't really know of anybody else.
Ministry.
Yeah, that's true.
Ministry. And that's, I don't think we're going to see a Ministry album
Yeah.
on this list.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so that's where I would keep the Downward Spiral, because I think that is Reznor's masterpiece. But
Definitely.
then instead of having Pretty Hate Machine at 453, I'd like to see
Some Ministry at 453.
Ministry's New World Order at 453.
Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
then you get Jesus Built My Hot Rod, you get New World Order, you get Just One Fix, and you get a more aggressive, polished version of what industrial was.
Yeah, because really, you're right. I mean, this is just a rawer. It almost sounds like a demo version of a later record. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't want anybody to think that I don't like this album, that I don't appreciate this album, because that's not the situation. I'm being more critical of it just because I know what the Downward Spiral is. I know that record's going to be on here, and I think that you can introduce other elements of industrial rock or industrial metal I think I think it creates a more representative list.
Yeah.
We're talking about the greatest of all time. And listen,
Definitely.
I'll eat my shorts if Ministry appears on this list. I just
They might.
don't think they're going to, but I would love to see them on this list.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts were that I had never listened to this before, so I really enjoyed getting an early glimpse at this kind of stuff and what was going on in Reznor's mind.
There's
'Cause
really
I really
great
respect
stuff.
Trent Reznor, and I really love his voice. I
Yeah.
really, really do. I think he
Yes.
has a fantastic voice. I really identify with it.
And there's nobody else on this, right? And I think
It's him.
yeah, and Trent Reznor was really probably the first guy to pull that off. Maybe?
To pull the solo thing off.
Well, where you're doing
Doing
everything,
everything.
right? You're producing,
I don't know.
you're doing all the synths, you're doing all of the on this record it was a drum machine, but that's why I think the Downward Spiral is so much more impressive, is because now he's incorporating all analog instrumentation along with all of the synths and the electronic stuff and the guitars and the bass, and he's recording all of it.
Yeah.
Which
See,
again,
he plays the guitar.
yeah,
I really like the guitar style on this record.
yeah.
That's something I wrote, but also it's kind of
you-
the same on Downward Spiral. So it's very kind of minimalist.
Did you notice that there wasn't a ton of guitar on here though?
That's what I mean.
There's
So-
multiple tracks on this record that when I had memories of this record, my memories were, yeah, there's a ton of guitar. He played it all. It was really, really cool, and it's really heavy. But if you look at songs like Sanctify, there's very limited guitar.
Sanctified.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very it's minimalist, like what I was saying.
Yes.
But it's
Not
He
to be
goes
confused
for-
with lo-fi, because this is not lo-fi.
no.
It's minimalist, though.
He goes for high impact with
Yeah.
the guitar. So it's like I'm not going to play it very often, but when I do, I'm going to play something with intent, and it's going to impact the listener.
And it's going to be
And it's
fucking
like
loud.
it's going to build up. He's going to be like, "Darn it!" And that's the only guitar part of the
That's
record.
right.
But when he does it, it's like, "Woo!"
And it doesn't sound empty. These
No.
are not hollow sounding tracks, because he's got
they have a
so
lot going on.
Yeah, there's so many layers of synth that he's building in, like the drum machine with the synth, with the bass, and it's probably not a bass guitar on this record. It's probably a bass synth is probably what it is.
Yeah.
But either way, he's building all these layers, so the songs don't ever sound hollow.
No. I did write something down, though, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this. I wrote down, if this is on the list, though, a Tool record should probably be on here, which we already revealed before. There's no Tool on this list at all.
And I mean, listen, I mentioned Ministry, but that Ministry comment was more directed towards the industrial tag that this album,
Because-
that the Downward Spiral gets. Like, that's what they were labeling all of this type of music back in the day, was they were calling it industrial or industrial metal.
And Tool could be compared, but not on the industrial level, but on the, I mean, I don't know, almost like on the alternative metal kind of. I mean, there's definitely similarities between Tool and Nine Inch Nails, wouldn't you say?
Not so much with this record.
Not with this record.
No, I don't think so much with this record. Because honestly, you have some distorted guitars, but the vast majority of this record is almost like
It's a lot of synth.
it's a lot of dance, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's dancey.
weird kind of dancey stuff. But that's also what makes it so genius.
Yeah.
Is that he's taken and again, they call it disco, right? They call it goth industrial disco. What
That's niche.
I wouldn't say disco. I would say dance. Because there's a Down in It. That's a He's rapping over a hip hop beat.
Yeah.
On Down in It.
Pretty sing-alongy chorus though on that one. Down in it. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But think about the
Crazy
beat. It's like,
scream at the end too.
yes, but it's that.
Yeah, I mean, it would fit right in with in a club. You know what I mean? Yeah,
very much so. Right,
like a '90s industrial club. Yeah,
like a house type beat. There's a lot of house sounds.
I wish they
record.
played this kind of shit in clubs. Actually, maybe I would go.
Maybe you'd go to more clubs.
Yeah, probably not, but I don't think I've ever even been to. Maybe. Okay. Anyways, I think that thematically, it was pretty much par for the course for Reznor, which is just themes of depression and obsession. He's talking about a girl a lot and the effect that she has on him.
Mm-hmm.
Self depravity, pretty much. He's just he's always in a bad place. Trent, he's never doing well in any of his songs.
Yeah. I don't know if he's had a hard life, but in his songs, and he says, right, the stuff that he could bum out to and realize, hey, somebody else feels this way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of us that feel that way, and this has been a therapeutic album for me. Probably the Downward Spiral has been more therapeutic in my life.
Yeah. We should reference our friend Lee Stamper on this one.
Friend of the show, Lee Stamper.
Yeah, good guy, Lee Stamper. He talked about Terrible Lie, which is the second track on this record. He says, Terrible Lie has always been my favorite Nine Inch Nails song. I hope you paid attention to the lyrics. He captures the struggle of wanting to believe in a God, but facing the gruesome reality of existence. And then it ends with one of the coolest synth lines he ever made.
Amen, Lee Stamper.
That synth line was rad.
Yeah.
I got to say. It was super dissonant and weird and just not it doesn't seem intuitive, but it's cool. It fits with what's going on.
It does.
And speaking of Lee Stamper, we're here to promote. We have a new website today to promote with Lee Stamper, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, luckily, the show's been going on long enough that we've got our first podcast sponsor to the show.
Paid ad, yeah,
and it's
not cheap either.
And it's actually Lee Stamper. He's going to be starting up a new website entitled onlylee.com. ONLYLEE.com.
Please check it out.
Yeah, you can go there and it's going to be a boy and his tool and a web camera.
Yeah.
We're really excited for Lee. He only told us about this venture today.
Yeah, but we hear he's going to be beefing up the content here pretty quickly. So
definitely.
We'd love for you to check that out. Lee Stamper. I think he actually currently maybe has there's an OnlyFans right now. It's like OnlyFans / Lee Stamper, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So reach out, check that out and
go support Lee.
Yeah. Lee needs it, So onlylee.com coming soon to a web browser near you.
Definitely coming definitely soon to a web browser near you. Listen.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks for everything. We love you. This was already part of my digital library.
Yeah. I added it.
Yeah. I would probably buy this on vinyl.
So I would just buy Downward Spiral on vinyl. If I was going to buy Nine Inch Nails on vinyl, I don't feel like I would probably play this one a lot if I had Downward Spiral. If I didn't, I might, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't ever play this if
Do you have Downward Spiral?
No.
No.
I don't have any Nine Inch Nails on vinyl at the moment.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go out and buy Downward Spiral on vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of the list, I think I've already made my point. I probably wouldn't keep this. I'd probably let this space be filled.
I wrote that I would.
Something else.
I understand that. Yeah. And I wrote that I would, but at the same time I wrote if it's going to be on here, then there should be a Tool record on here. So
yeah,
I was kind of torn on this one.
Now listen, if you've never listened to this record and you don't want to listen to all 49 minutes of it, you need to hear Head Like a Hole if you haven't. It's wonderful. You really need to listen to Terrible Lie for all the reasons that Lee Stamper gave you and for the fact that it's a great song. And unequivocally, you have to listen to Something I Can Never Have.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So that was a highlight for me, was Something I Can Never Have. That that was kind of a spooky tune because it had like this like minor piano riff, but at the same time with this major bass line. And by major, I mean like major versus minor. Like it was like a major bass line for the music nerds out there. It's like a major third on the bass line combined with a minor sixth on the piano, which was like a really interesting dissonance, which, you know, Trent Reznor is the king of like industrial dissonance for sure.
And his voice on this is
It's raw.
He has a way to create the most haunting feel in a song, and this is the first time that he crushed that.
Yeah.
In every way, shape, and form.
Another standout for me was The Only Time, which is track number 9. Really dissonant kind of synth line on there at the end, which I liked a lot. And it actually had like a really cool chord progression, which a lot of these songs don't have a real chord progression to them.
No.
A lot of them are pretty static. And he had a line on that one that kind of stuck out to me, which was, I don't know what the first half of this line was, but the second half was, "While the devil wants to fuck me in the back of his car." And I wrote that down.
Yeah, good tunes.
So yeah, we're pretty close to
I don't think
consensus on that one.
Yeah, I don't think we're too far off from each other on it. The only exception being that maybe you keep it and
maybe you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably don't.
Okay.
What do you say?
Let's move on.
All right.
452.
452. It's another one of our favorite types of albums, an anthology. This time the anthology of Diana Ross and the Supremes. It was released in 1974. Rolling Stone says, in the heyday of Motown, the Supremes were their own hit factory, all glamour and heartbreak. Diana Ross and her girls ruled the radio with tunes from the Motown brain trust of Holland, Dozier, and Holland. The Supremes could blaze with confidence, as in Come See About Me, or they could sound elegantly morose, as in My World Is Empty Without You, and Where Did Our Love Go? But in Love is like an itching in my heart when Miss Ross gulps, there ain't nothing I can do about it. It's a spine-tingling moment. How many spine tinglers did you have, good sir, in listening to this 2 hour and 26-minute episodic?
My spine's been tingling nonstop all day. Actually, I listened to almost all of this record today in a row without a break.
That's tough.
2.5 hours.
That's really
It was a lot of Diana Ross. I will say that.
Yeah.
Not that it's unpleasant, but it's just like, it's a lot of it, you know?
So we have talked ad nauseum about, I think, both of our mutual hate for anthologies. And
everybody that listens to this knows our feelings on best ofs and anthologies.
Yeah, I would really prefer to not see them. I would rather see individual records on this list rather than these anthologies and or greatest hits. There are some exceptions that I'm willing to make. And this one was fascinating for me because I broke this up into 2 chunks. Okay. I knew that I couldn't do 2.5 hours straight of the Supremes and Diana Ross. And so I broke it up. It is a 2 CD set. And so it breaks nicely. I think after like 25 or 26 songs, then it kind of breaks into disc 2, or at least that's the way that Apple Music laid it out. Like I could tell when one CD was over and the next one was the beginning. And so the first CD was the doo-wop, the classic doo-wop sound of the Supremes.
Like the mid-60s or?
Yes. Like think, I'm going to say 63 to, 62 to like 65.
Yeah.
Type of Supremes.
The Ronetti Supremes.
Yes, where it's very much a trio of voices.
Yeah.
And everything sounds like it's a trio. So I listened to that. By the time that I got to the end of it, I literally thought to myself, you fucking assholes. You did this to me again. I have another fucking hour and 15 minutes to listen to more of the same thing. And it's hard because where I respect everything about Bo Diddley and I want to keep Bo Diddley on this list, I was having PTSD to Bo Diddley. And I was like, fuck, I got to do this again.
Gotta listen to another fucking record.
That's right. So the next night, right, I've got myself up, the gall is up, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get through this, and I know what this is gonna be like, but I'm gonna do it. So the second disc starts with Reflections, but just by the title, I couldn't recognize the song, but the song starts with this really fucking wild, spacey sound that comes in. And then before you know it, I'm like, these reflections of the way life used to be. And I'm like, holy
Buttered
shit.
popcorn. Yeah.
This fucking song. And it triggered, right? And then as I was working my way through the second disc, I just kept getting triggered in a really great way about like, fuck, this song is great. And this song is great. And this song is great.
Yeah. No, it
And-
definitely got better in the second half. I would agree with you there.
And there was a point in the second half where I said, you know what? I'm going to break my own rule. Like, I fucking love this record.
You love the anthology. But then wait, there's more?
I got to a point. And the point that I hit that spot was, I'm going to make you love me. Like, when I'm going to make you love me came on, I thought, holy shit, this thing's fucking amazing. And then by the time I got to Someday We Will Be Together, which is like 6 songs later, I'm like, wow, I'm sold. Like, I'm actually okay with this anthology. And then the song immediately after, Someday We'll Be Together, like, was a fucking Hard Day's Night.
And you did not like the Hard Day's Night.
It took me right back to why I was like, fuck you and fuck all of your anthologies.
What didn't you like about the Hard Day's Night?
How about the fact that it's not a fucking Supreme song?
Yeah.
Do you think that works?
No, I think it
for
works.
me
I'm just curious about
because then
not that I loved it, but I was just curious about your like why it ruined it for you. And I'm not even saying that it shouldn't have. I was just curious.
Because from that point on, and we're not talking about a small number of tracks left to go, right? From that point on, It Makes No Difference, Ain't That Good News, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, Whistle While You Work was on there.
I thought that was kind of silly. It almost sounded like it was from a musical.
It felt like it was from a made-for-TV after-school special that they were like, hey, guys, we got really good news. Diana Ross and the Supremes, they've agreed to record a track for our after-school...
Yeah.
And that's where they lost me. So I literally went from...
What was so bad about the Hard Day's Night, though? You just didn't like the way they did it? Because you like that song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it when the Beatles do it.
You like when the Beatles do it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, respect. I get it.
So why would I listen to the Supremes do it when I can listen to the Beatles do it?
That's a good point because, like, why was it necessary for them to do it?
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. You're
And
right.
and this is another one of those covers that was literally done within 3 years of the original being recorded?
So you really love like 1/4 of this record. You really love like the
Probably
first
a
half
third.
of the second record.
I didn't hate the first half. The problem with the first half is that the doo-wop Supremes, there's no differentiation.
It's all the same
It's
shit,
going back
yeah.
to Bo Diddley, right? Like you have the same formula kind of over and over and over again. They're not broaching into any type of... None of the lyrics are meaningful in a way that like make you think or that make you
I feel like
question
that's the case
anything.
lyrically with a lot of the record, though, even more than just the first half.
You think so?
Well, I mean, there's a couple standouts like that are obviously an exception to that rule, but thematically, it's almost like it almost reads like a girl in an abusive relationship, and she's like going through like periods of Stockholm syndrome, and all her friends are like, no, seriously, you got to get out of that relationship. And she's like, all my friends are telling me that I got to get out. She's like, and then the next song is like, you got me, even though you treat me bad and you still, I can't get you out of my head and stuff like that. And it's just like, this woman she's in it. She's troubled. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I kind of feel you. As the group gets more mature, I think that they're willing to take on, and honestly, the real standout to me is Love Child. Love Child's a crazy song. If you if you listen to that shit lyrically, like that's a pretty fucking wild song for when it was recorded, right? In the mid to late 60s. And so
yeah. I will say I kind of think that I agree with you though. Like my favorite section of the record was that same stretch that you kind of talked about. I really love Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, which is a cover, right?
yes,
But
absolutely.
it's a great song.
It's a beautiful
So,
cover too.
yeah.
The way
It's
they
a good
do it
song.
is amazing.
I like It Makes No Difference. It's
Mhm.
almost like folky. Like a
Yes.
folk kind of.
How about the Nitty Gritty?
I put that. So what I did was, because I didn't want to like write this down and like spend 3 hours taking notes on this record. Sorry to our listeners, I love you, but I didn't want to take notes on 3 hours of Diana Ross songs. So
I did, just for all of you.
well, I started a playlist and I added songs that I liked from it to the playlist, and I added the Nitty Gritty, and I added No Matter What Sign You Are.
Yep.
Because thematically that song was like basically discounting astrology. I can get behind that. So
That bass, the fucking bass
There was-
on
yeah.
No Matter What Sign You Are is fantastic. And they also had a bunch of really cool sitar work in there. That was the sitar, right?
either that or something that was approximating it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it
It was
had
supposed to sound like
that,
a
it was
sitar,
supposed to
yeah.
sound like a sitar if it wasn't a sitar. That was cool though.
But I'll read some of the songs I added off. I mean, I like You Can't Hurry Love. You like that song, right?
Dude, it's
You
a great
Can't Hurry
song.
Love. Yeah.
It's doo-wop, right?
But it's good doo-wop.
It
And
is.
what I liked about this is because a lot of the early stuff reminded me of the Ronettes,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't have the wall of sound. So I
Although
was
they did have some wall of sound on here. Did you notice that?
a couple tunes, but
It was
a
on the
lot of
back
them
end.
didn't. Yeah.
Yes. The vast majority of them did not.
Yeah.
But as you started to get deeper into the second disc of the anthology, and
Yeah.
again, this is the point in the disc where I'm like, all right, fuck off. I'm out again.
Yeah.
Like
And
I was
at
out,
that point-
I was in, I was out again.
Yeah. Yeah. Phil Spector fucking sunk his teeth
Yes.
into it, huh?
Yeah, he did.
So, yeah, we were talking about making T-shirts, by the way, for This List Sucks. And we're trying to decide, should it say 100% on the back or should it say fuck Phil Spector on the back?
Or should it say, fuck Phil Spector?
100%. So send us an email or shoot one of us a text
Yeah,
if you're personally friends with us, and let us know what you would wear. Would you wear a shirt
Would
that
you wear a
says
shirt?
"fuck Phil Spector" on the back of it? I mean, I know we would, but
Yes.
would you? Because we want you to buy it.
I
So,
just hate him.
yeah.
I just hate him. What else did you add?
So I added "Stop in the Name of Love."
Of course.
I added "Buttered Popcorn" just because that song cracked me up so
That song
much.
is funny, dude.
"You Keep Me Hanging On," really,
Yes.
really good song.
Dude,
You
that's an
keep me
amazing.
hanging
Yes.
on.
Yes.
"The Happening."
Yep.
I added "Your Reflections." I added that one on there.
Fucking Reflections is so
Good
good,
tune.
dude.
I added "Forever Came Today."
Yep. It's a
I
great
added-
song.
I added "The Nitty Gritty."
Mm-hmm.
I added "Try It, Baby."
Did you not add Love Child?
Did add "Love Child."
Oh,
Yeah.
Love Child's so fucking good.
I added "It Makes No Difference." I actually added "Whistle While You Work." I hate to say
God
it.
damn it.
Just because I like musicals and it felt like a musical to me. And I added "Can't Take My Eyes Off You."
Listen, if you're going to go out, I'm going to make you love me. I think you have to listen to that song. You have to listen to Reflections if it's been a long time since you've heard it. You have never heard the Nitty Gritty, most likely, and you should, because that thing is just as funky as hell. Someday We Will Be Together. Listen to that again. Listen to Love Child again. The takeaway from this for me, and especially if you're not aware, Diana Ross was signed to Motown when she was like 16 years old. The vast majority of this music was recorded when she was between the ages of 18 to 24,
Nuts.
which is unthinkable when especially on the back half, because the back half of the record, the group was renamed from the Supremes to Diana Ross and the Supremes, and it's really obvious in the music because Diana Ross is very, very clearly featured, even more so than what she was featured when they were just the Supremes. But her voice to me is just an unbelievable combination of strength and tenderness, those are antithetical, right? Those are two antithetical things, but she does it, and she does it effortlessly.
Right. Yeah,
Which
it
is-
just seems natural.
Yeah. I mean, it's really astounding. Now, again, I'm not keeping this anthology on the list, primarily because it's an anthology.
Yeah.
I would much rather see a greatest hits, because you can strip away half of this and be left with an album that you start from the front. You get that doo-wop Supremes, you end in the back, and maybe the last song on there is Someday We Will Be Together, and you want to hear that as the last song because you think, yes, can we just be together someday, Diana?
because like as unfair as greatest hits records seem, to go on this because it seems unfair. Like this is a list of the greatest albums of all time. So the contestants are artists who have made records.
Yeah.
So it seems unfair to be like, oh, we're going to take the best from each of this guy's records and make it into
And
an album.
put it together.
Put it on the list. Anthologies seem even more unfair. It's like, you know what? We're not going to do a greatest hits. We're going to take like all of their fucking music and put it on this list.
That's exactly. I mean, it's a step. It's I don't even know if steroids are cheating. It's taking steroids and fucking putting cybernetic arms on or something. I don't even know how to describe it.
Wearing the super suit.
Yeah, it's crazy to me to think that anthologies should be a thing on here. They just shouldn't.
It's obvious to me. Like, what the fuck are you thinking, Rolling Stones? This list fucking sucks. God damn it.
So let's find their greatest hits and let's put Diana Ross and the Supremes' greatest hits on here and call it a day.
Or let's find their most popular record
Yeah.
and put it on there.
Yeah, because I want to see this on here, and I want to see a variety of their music represented. I do want to hear some of those doo-wop because some of those doo-wops are classics, but I also want to hear the later
So you want to
stuff,
see
too.
a greatest hits, not one of the records, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that'd be better for me than an anthology.
Yes. Listen, the pecking order of shit is anthologies are the worst.
They're terrible. It's the best albums. An anthology is not an album.
No.
An anthology is a collection of music from many
From
different
everything,
albums. Yeah.
right? And if you're including everything, you're going to get detritus in there, which is where I fall with Hard Day's Night and Whistle While You Work.
Yeah.
It's just hot trash to me.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I'd rather have the dwarfs whistling while they work.
Like the Seven Dwarfs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From 1932.
Well, yeah. I can get
Whenever
behind
that movie was made,
Yeah.
right? They were the original whistlers
I
while they were
assume the
working.
soundtrack from that is probably pretty close to the top on
I'm
this
sure
list.
it's got to be, listen, top 50.
Yeah. Easy.
You want to bet?
Easy. Yeah. 100,000. Yeah. All right. Should we move on to the last one for today?
Well, so
you have something else?
I haven't added this. I didn't make a playlist like you did. I think that's really smart, and I might do that. But I will hunt me down Diana Ross and the Supremes' greatest hits album. I am going to hunt that down because I fucking
For on
love,
vinyl or for
yeah,
digital?
on vinyl. On vinyl.
I did not add it, and I'm probably not going to buy digital, and I'm with you on the list too. I'm probably not going to buy vinyl is what I meant to say, and I'm not going to add it to the list. But I'm not against. I think I agree with you that Diana Ross needs represented. So I think a greatest hits is probably the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. All right,
Final one,
let's wrap it up.
451. We have Roberta Flack's First Take from 1969. At the peak of psychedelic soul music, Roberta Flack debuted with a classy quietude and thoughtful grace, recording with jazz musicians and complex horn and string arrangements. Her record was widely admired, but it didn't become popular until 3 years later, after her pained version of Ewan McCall's 1950s folk ballad, The First Time I Ever Saw Your Face, scored a love scene in Clint Eastwood's movie Play Misty for Me, and the song spent 6 weeks atop the Billboard Hot 100 chart.
Banging.
Yeah. What'd you think about this one, Mike?
This fucking album is a jam.
So good. I seriously fell in love with this. And honestly, I hate to say it, I feel like an idiot. The first time I listened to it, I thought it was just okay. I wasn't like absorbed the first time. I was walking my dog the first time, and I was walking around the neighborhood, and I listened to it, and I was like, I dug it, but like the opener of this song is a song called Compared to What? And it's like a funk soul type of tune.
Yeah.
And the rest is mostly ballads.
Mm-hmm.
It's a record of mostly ballads. And so like I was expecting like a funk horn heavy soul record. And it was not that at all. This was a jazz ballad record.
Very much
essentially. But at the same time, on retrospect and upon second listen, I love the fact that it started out with a funk soul Compared to What. But the first time, I didn't know what to expect, and I was walking my dog, and I just, for some reason, didn't get fully absorbed in it. But I listened to this a couple more times, and I really fell in love with it. I don't know. What'd you think, Mike?
I basically did the same thing because I've listened to this record 4 times now, and the first listen that I gave it, I was super impressed with her voice, because her voice is undeniably just, it's really magic, right? It's really, really good.
Dude. Yes.
And
we'll talk about that some more.
yeah. And so I was like, okay, I kind of get where this is going. But by the time that I listened to it, the third listen through is when everything that's happening behind her voice came out to me and stood out to me in a way that made me appreciate this record far more than what I did before. And she's also taken a lot of risks with some of this stuff, you know, like lyrically what she's doing with a lot of this record, especially for 1969. Listen, it's a really volatile time in the country. A lot of bad shit has been going on, you know, with regards to politics and the Vietnam War and everything. And she's bringing a lot of that stuff out, including race relations, in a song like, Angelitos Negros, like and she sings that entire thing in Spanish.
Yeah, so I don't know what it was about.
So it's based on a poem that it's basically a child asking a painter, why don't you paint any angels black?
Black. Okay. I like that a lot. That's
why
really
are all
nice.
the angels that you're painting white?
Okay,
really
so that kind of takes on a different tone when you know that.
Yeah.
So
it's
did
a
she
fucking heavy song, dude.
So did she arrange it this way? Do you know? Because I know she didn't write a lot of tunes on this record.
No, she didn't.
She didn't arrange it this way.
I don't believe so.
Someone else. Okay. Yeah. You know what I'll say is her voice just really got me. Like I felt I'm in love with Roberta Flack after this week. And I was totally unfamiliar before this week. I had never listened to anything. I've already listened to a couple other of her records, and I was sitting in my living room last night just playing some excerpts from this record to my girlfriend and just being like, can you fucking believe what you're hearing right now?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, this is going to sound nuts, but like, I think Roberta Flack is like one of the greatest female vocalists I've ever fucking heard. I really mean that.
This
like,
record is really special.
I put her up there with Aretha Franklin. Literally, she's there for me. Like some of this stuff that like, especially like the amount of times during this record that I was overcome with like goosebumps and chills was like 3 or 4 times, which that's a lot of times for one record. You know what I mean?
Do you
like it's go ahead.
It's not the same range, right?
It's not even about the range though for me. It's just about the tonality.
Yes.
It's like when she hits, she does this when she hits the note and she holds it out in the sustain.
Yeah.
The sustain that she has.
Yes.
Like most singers don't have this level of sustain. Like when they sing, the note kind of dies off a little bit. The way she does it, she will sing a note and it'll carry out for 10 plus seconds and it'll just stay consistent. There's no variation in volume. There's no tremolo and there's no variation in quality. There's no
auto tune.
Absolutely no auto tune.
Justin Vernon.
Fuck you, Bon Iver. And she, but just seriously, like these long, even on Angelitos Negros, like she, especially towards the end, some of these songs have such amazing builds to them. And at the very end of this, she's just doing these long notes that are just held out, and the vibrato she gets. I've never heard better vibrato on a vocalist than Roberta Flack. I'm saying it right now. You heard it here. Not first. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's probably been said. But like seriously, Roberta Flack's vibrato is just out of this world.
Yeah.
Drop what you're doing. If you're asking me, drop what you're doing and listen to Roberta Flack.
Yeah, I can get down with that, but and we were talking about this a little bit before the show. I will say this. What really turned this record for me, and I love Roberta Flack. I think that she is really, really special. But if you're going to dive into this, and if you're really going to give it a full listen, put a good set of really high quality headphones on, listen to this thing on headphones. And for me, the guy playing the double bass on this, the stand-up bass, is the MVP of this record.
Yeah.
And that, again, not to take anything away from Roberta Flack, but
I don't think it does. You know,
the bass work on this record is, I mean, it's astoundingly beautiful to me. It's when you play an upright bass, it's it's a big instrument. It's got its own voice, and you can do things on a stand-up, on a traditional stand-up bass that you just can't necessarily do with an electric. And he emotes with this bass in a way that I mean, I can very genuinely say that I don't know that you don't hear this very often. And I don't even know that I've heard it as good as I've heard it on this record.
It's so good. And just like you said, he emotes. So like usually a lot of times I notice players, and not just bass players, but just players in general, have one side of the coin. They either have the emotion side, like the guitar player from Iggy Pop, or they have the technicality side. Like I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but like there's lots of musicians out there that kind of lack feel, but have supreme technical ability.
Yeah, technically
And
they're
I'm not
amazing
gonna
players.
Say that about anyone. I'm trying to think of someone I could say that and not offend. I don't know. Like listen to some fancy kind of math rock kind of stuff, and you're gonna hear like, I don't know. Listen to like Joe Satriani
I was
like
gonna say
Steve Vai.
and Joe Satriani. That's ridiculously funny. But those guys are supremely talented.
Yeah.
I mean, unfucking believable.
But you could
technical
maybe
guitar
argue that the
players.
feel wise, it's not there as much.
Yeah.
But with this bass player, it was both sides of the coin. And so
Man.
I actually dug into this guy a little bit. I was excited to tell you this. So this is Ron Carter on the bass. Okay. He's the most recorded jazz bass player in history.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, by far. He's on over 2,221 separate recording sessions.
What?
Yeah.
Holy
So he's a studio bass
shit.
player
When was
and
he
frequent
active?
collaborator. I think, well, let me look that up. I think it's like
Like, when
early
did-
60s too.
Yeah, I'm curious as to when he stopped doing sessions.
I think he's still alive.
Is he still alive? What was his name?
Find it out. Ron Carter. I'm pulling him up right now, so just give me
Nice.
1 second. Yeah, he's still alive, and he's an educator as well. But so, anyways, yeah, his appearances on 2,221 recording sessions make him the most recorded jazz bassist in history. He's
That's
won
nuts.
2 Grammy Awards, 2 Grammy rewards, and he also plays cello.
Man.
And he's been recorded numerous times on that record.
Trying Times, which is towards the back album of this record, my note on that was that his bass tone and his playing is the Scott Pippen to her voice.
Oh yeah, and I love the tonality of that. It kind of returned to like the original tonality of the song or of the record with Compared to What, because it's like Compared to What, and then the next like 6 songs are like straight ballads, like
Yeah.
jazz ballads.
That's right.
And then Trying Times is a little funkier, and then it's back to another jazz ballad with Ballad of Sad Young Men, which is a beautiful song. Okay?
Yeah.
And I wrote fucking ridiculous vibrato, like maybe the best I've ever heard. And I stand up to that today. Like
I made a note about and I referenced Control.
beautiful
Right?
control.
Which is what you were talking about, right? And you called it Sustain.
Yes.
I called it Control.
Yeah, we mean the same
We're
thing.
literally talking about the same thing.
Yeah. And she has this butteriness to her voice. And this is like kind of something that you said about Diana Ross, which is that she has this soft tonality to her voice, this butteriness, but at the same time, there's this fierceness.
Yeah.
And she doesn't, you're not lost on either one. Like they're both, like it's there, you know?
Yeah.
And just really, I fell in love with her voice on this, and I'm going to dig a lot further into her. And just a little side note from this record, I kind of dug into Roberta Flack a little bit. There's a record called Let It Be Roberta, and it's Roberta Flack covering Beatles songs,
Fuck off.
and it's
Really?
amazing. I started listening to it last night.
How deep
she-
is that like
It's
deep?
later, man.
Later,
She had to
okay.
be like 60 something or maybe 70 something.
what?
Because she's still alive, and she's like 80 something right now. And she was old when she made that Roberta Let It Be Roberta record.
Is she doing only Beatle ballads or is
Not
it
at
like-
all. Here, I'll
Really?
actually I'll read some of the tracks off to you because it's I had it pulled up on my phone here. Okay, no, I got it right here. So she does In My Life to open it, which I love that tune. She does Hey Jude. She does We Can Work It Out. Super dope. She does Let It Be. She does Oh Darlin'. Not a ballad at all.
Of course.
I should have known. What's that? I should have known. The Long and Winding Road.
Oh,
Holy fuck.
dude, she smashes that.
I didn't actually listen to that one yet.
There's no way that she doesn't just
I guarantee she
absolutely
does.
annihilate the Long and Winding Road.
Yeah. She does Come Together.
Does she do Blackbird?
No, Blackbird.
What? Really?
Yeah.
That's actually
Unfortunately
shocking.
not.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But then she did, here, I'm actually going to, just give me 1 second, because what I'm seeing here is not exactly what I remember seeing on the.
Well, it's kind of amazing that she did it that deep in her singing career, but at the same time, I would take it.
She does And I Love Her, but she changed it to And I Love Him, which I think is kind of cool. And she does Yesterday, which
Oh,
to me,
fuck.
I think Yesterday is like one of the most beautiful songs ever written.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
hearing her version, and these are not like she's just doing it in the same style. These are like almost R&B versions.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, like it's very different. And it came out in 2012. And so, I mean, let me look up how old she is today. But I bet you she was 75 when she recorded this.
Do you think, I mean, obviously her record of Beatle covers is not going to be on this list, but do you think that we see other Roberta Flack on this list?
You know, this is my first segue into Roberta Flack. So, probably not, I'm going to say, but that's just a random guess. I can't say that for sure. But I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah, I don't know that we do either.
She was 74 when she recorded this Let It Be, Roberta. So, and she definitely sounds different. I mean, she sounds older. Her voice is a little deeper and more robust as she got older. But it's still amazing.
You go, girl.
Yeah, so good. But yeah, so this record just really an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I
agree
loved
with you.
listening to this.
Listen, I do want to give a shout out to Rex because Rex has been playing along at home this whole way, and he's been going top to bottom. He calls Bo Diddley tolerable.
Tolerable, yeah.
Listen, I get it, right? I get it. He calls Can eccentric, eclectic, and incredible. He says, "I'm surprised Rolling Stone knew about this album, let alone put it on the list." He loved it, though. I mean, he talks about a slide whistle on the first track. Yes, Rex, you did hear a slide whistle, and you heard a whole bunch of other shit. So he actually loves Nine Inch Nails. He wants to see it higher on the list, but he said it's bullshit. He said this list is bullshit anyway, so there you go. Sorry, Rex, you're going to fucking hate my hot take on this. Decent album with the anthology, but again, listening to 2.5 hours of Diana Ross, he says, "Oh yeah, I've never listened to 2.5 hours of Diana Ross," and he's okay with that. And then Roberta Flack, he says, "Put this album on, grab a bottle of wine, and enjoy this beautiful nugget because that's what it is, and that is what you should do."
Definitely. Quick side note before we go on: did
Yeah.
you know that "Killing Me Softly" with his song? Apparently, that she made this song popular.
Oh, Killing
Roberta
Me
Flack
Softly is
did.
Roberta Flack.
It's not, she didn't write it, but that was
But she
her version
performed it.
became the #1 hit. Yeah.
That's awesome. Maybe we get that album.
Killing me softly with his song. Yeah.
All right,
so before we finish, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say we should pick the favorites.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of where I thought that you were going to go. Before we wrap this thing up, we'll go back through the last 25 and pick out our favorites. And then, are we going to try and name one favorite out of the top 50?
I think we should just for fun,
Fuck.
and maybe we can
Don't hold me to this,
revise
yeah.
that next
Yeah,
week.
I might have to revisit this. All right, so let's go all the way. You want to start from the back or start from the most recent?
Let's start from the back. Let's start from
475.
475.
Yep.
So 470. How about we just read it in 5? So I'll read the first 5.
All right,
and
go
you can
for it.
read the next 5. So 475 was Sheryl Crow. 474 was Big Star's #1 record. 473 was Daddy Yankee's Barrio Fino. That's Mike's favorite. 472 was SZA's Control. And 471 was Jefferson Airplane's Surrealistic Pillow.
This one's so easy for me. Can I go first?
Yeah.
Fucking love Sheryl Crow.
Really?
I loved that album when it came out, and I still love it. So
I loved that a lot too.
Out of those 5, it's very easy for me to say that is hands down my favorite album out of those 5.
For me, it's easy to say Surrealistic Pillow.
And
for sure.
I knew that.
Did you know I was going
going
to say that? Yeah.
I knew that you were going there, and man, listen. That's a great record, but if If I'm trapped on a desert island and I only have one album, I'd rather have Sheryl Crow.
Not Daddy Yankee? No? No, I get it. I actually was super pleasantly surprised by that Sheryl Crow because I didn't know what to expect because I had not delved into her. So
Yeah, it's a fucking jam.
yeah.
All right, so the next 5, 470, we had 400 Degrees by Juvenile. At 469, Manu Chao, Clandestino. At 468, The Rolling Stones, Some Girls. 467, Blackwell's Black Summer's Night. And then at 466, The Beach Boys, Today by The Beach Boys. What do you got there?
I'm a little torn on this one because I liked Some Girls, but my favorite would be Between Clandestino, which is Manu Chao, and Black Summer's Night. I think I'm going to go with Black Summer's Night.
Yeah.
Same for you?
Yeah.
That was a great one. So check that one out.
Yeah, and I'd never listened to Maxwell before.
Me neither.
I'm with you. I loved that. I loved songs on Some Girls. I didn't love the record. I loved the songs that I liked. I really, really loved though. But listen, as a record, top to bottom, I would tell you to first listen to Maxwell, and then if you have an extra 45 minutes, definitely dig into Manu Chao because that's a great record too.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
Okay, 465 through 461. 465. King Sunny, Ade, The Best of the Classic Years. The Isley Brothers, 3+3. Laura Nyro, Eli and the 13th Confession. The Flying Burrito Brothers, The Gilded Palace of Sin. And do we even have to mention this one? Boney Bears for Emma Forever Ago.
Bon Iver.
Bon Iver?
For Emma.
Emma.
This one's tough for me.
Yeah? It
Yeah.
is for me too.
This one's tough for me.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, you do. I'm gonna do King Sunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, yeah, I'm torn on this one too. But just to be different, because it's either, but for me, I love the Isley Brothers, but for me, it's between King Sunny Ade and Laura Nyro. I really fell in love with Laura on this one.
You did.
And I'm going to go with Eli and the 13th Confession by Laura Nyro.
Yeah. I kind of thought that you were going to go there. Thought you were. All right. So down to the last 10, the first set of 5, 460 is 2017 Melodrama by Lorde. At 459, King Cudi, Man on the Moon, The End of the Day from 2009. 458, Jason Isbell, Southeastern. 457, Sinead O'Connor, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got. And then 456, Al Green's Greatest Hits. This is a fucking no-brainer.
Almost guarantee we have the same answer here.
Yeah, we do.
Sinead O'Connor's. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. It's definitely Jason Isbell, Southeastern.
Yeah. and
But
that's
honorable
not
mention to
even
Kid
close.
Cudi because that's a great fucking record.
Yeah, listen, and Melodrama is a really, really great record too. I mean,
Last week was a good week.
yeah, last week was really, really good, and I'm so happy to have discovered Jason Isbell. Super quick side note before we jump into the last 5. I did a massive record shopping spree last weekend when I was down in Texas. Waterloo Records, shout out to Waterloo in Austin. Super great record store, but y'all can fuck off because the one record that I really wanted was Southeastern by Jason Isbell. They had every other record by him except for this one. Although I did score a sweet used copy of King Sunny Ade, Juju Music, which is something that I referenced during that week when we were listening to King Sunny Ade. If you've never heard Juju Music, definitely check it out. I scored that for $3 on vinyl.
$3?
$3.
Damn. And you did give me a present.
Fucking rad.
You got me a present too. You got me, he picked me up Herbie Hancock Trio.
What'd you think about that?
I love it.
Dude, it's
I
like
got it sitting right over there on top of my record player
super
right now.
legit classic like jazz trio music.
Yes.
But fuck, it's
Which I'm all
good.
about. So thanks, Mike. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. But
Yes,
definitely give yourself a Christmas present of Southeastern if you've never done it.
Yep.
I'm sure that everybody has. I'm the fucking goon that didn't listen to that record.
Yep. Oh, that's not what I meant, but yeah,
Yep.
Mike's good. No, but yeah, listen to Southeastern.
All right, so this week.
Okay, so the last week today to recap was Bo Diddley's Bo Diddley / Go Bo Diddley, Can's Ege Bamyasi, 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine, Diana Ross's, and the Supremes Anthology. Roberta Flack's First Take. What's your pick for this week?
Man, this is tough. I'm gonna do. Man, I finally got one. I'm gonna take Roberta.
Same. Yep. It was between Roberta and
Can.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me. But
And
Roberta was just so ridiculous.
Listen, between her voice and Ron Carter, fucking Ron Carter, Jesus. Like, I mean, seriously, that as a bass player, like I tend to listen to that anyway, and his tone is just super magic.
So what if you had to
Super
pick
magic.
your favorite of the top 50? Or what if I let you pick your top 3 so far?
Whew. Okay, so yeah, I can probably.
Sorry to spring this on you.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I want to flip back through to that first 25. Jason Isbell is unequivocally in there. That's super easy to do. Honestly, I'm also going to put Marvin Gaye, Hear My Dear in there. I looked for that record. I
No luck.
desperately wanted to fucking get that record, but they didn't have it. So I'm going to go with Marvin Gaye. I'm going to do Jason Isbell. And then for my third,
Yeah, take your time. No rush at all. Seriously. I'll sing a song to the Jingle bells, jingle no. Sorry.
my third is probably going to be fuck.
Is it the Stooges?
Listen, my third is going to be the Stooges / Sheryl Crow / Sparks / Can.
For me, the top is it's between Sparks and Jason Isbell. And I'm going to go with Jason Isbell. I'm going to go with Sparks. Come on to my house as number 2.
Yep.
And this is crazy, but I think I want to go with Roberta Flack for number 3, dude. Like,
Okay.
I seriously fell in love with her voice.
I don't think
Did
you're
not
wrong.
expect that to happen.
Yeah.
Like the first time I listened to it, didn't have the same impact. And so the second time I kind of sat down and was going to take some notes and didn't expect for it to have that impact on me, but it did. So I'm going to go with that.
Smashes. I mean, it really, really smashes. So quick programming note. We only got a couple, we literally only have 2 more weeks left in this year. And so for the next 2 weeks, we're going to take a little bit of a break since we made it through the first 50.
Yep.
And we're going to save 450 through 446, I guess, until January. All right. We're going to push that into 2021.
But we're not stopping.
We're not done. We're going to
No.
give you a couple of we're just going to give you some breaks, right? Some breaks from this dog shit list to find other wonderful shitty lists. And so next week, in honor of Christmas,
We're going to be doing Spotify's list of the top 25 Christmas songs of all time.
boom,
Boom. And then
couple albums worth, right?
Yeah,
And just to give everybody a sense of some good stuff for Christmas, and hopefully there's some good shit out there. I'm sure that list blows, even though it's Spotify and not Rolling
or
Stone.
you know what? Sorry, it might be the top 50. It doesn't.
God damn it! Wait a minute. What?
This is unprofessional. It's Spotify's list of the best Christmas songs of all time. I don't know how many are on there. Fuck off.
Listen, we're gonna try and drop that before Christmas too, though. That way, everybody can listen to decent Christmas music because we all know that part of that list sucks. And then the following week, leading up to New Year's, we're also going to be doing Rolling Stones. Is it top 25
I believe top 25 songs of 2020.
of 2020?
So it'll wrap up the year. It'll be a nice episode for the New Year's week.
Purely contemporary music, obviously.
Yeah.
And again, we're just doing songs. Those are not albums. And
You
so
might hear some of my Fiona Apple on there.
we might very well hear some. Although a song,
I think so.
you think so?
I think so.
All right. Well, either way, we'll try and post it on social, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll grab the lists that we're doing for both these couple of weeks and we'll cut and paste them out onto a Facebook post. That
That's
way
a good
you
thing
can
to do.
you can actually see what we're looking at before we dive in. And again, we're going to try and do the Christmas show before Christmas. That way you can actually listen to what we have to say and then potentially listen to it. And we'll probably do the same thing with New Year's.
Yeah.
Although
most
New
likely.
Year's is a weird wild card.
We might even do it on New Year's.
Yeah, we might try and do it on New
see.
Year's.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
We don't
And if
even
we
know.
do, we'll be live streaming it. So.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully next week we'll be live streaming on YouTube as well.
And
as
this
long
episode will
as-
be on YouTube.
Yeah, we're going to upload the video. But hopefully next week we can catch it all live if you'd like to watch along live. But as
Merry
always,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Looking forward to fucking getting done with 2020.
Yes, it's gonna be nice.
But as always, thanks for listening.
We love you.
Look forward to listening to some Christmas tunes. Talking to you about that next week. We do love you, and
See you next week. Bye, guys.
see you later.